Hello and welcome to the Dungeon. I'm your host Rob, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the College of Lore Bard. Now, one of the earlier videos I did, probably around 4th or 5th, maybe 6th video I ever made, was about the College of Valor Bard. It was actually called Does This Class Suck? College of Valor Bard Edition. And the reason it's called that, because I have a series on those types of videos, is because even though I personally think the College of Valor is quite good, a lot of people online really don't like it much. And the biggest reason is because they keep comparing it to the College of Lore Bard. And the College of Lore is really quite exceptional. It's one of the most versatile classes in the game with an amazing spell list and a wide range of abilities. And it's very easy to see why so many people like it. So today we're going to be taking a look at that particular college. We're going to look at the skills and abilities specific to the College of Lore. We'll take a look at some feat choices, racial choices. We'll probably take a look at some multi-classing options. And of course, we're going to go into magical secrets in a pretty big way. So starting right at level 3, when you get to choose which college you want to be a member of, you're going to get 3 bonus proficiencies. So pick 3 skills, you're now proficient in those skills. I don't think this is a great ability, but it's not bad. More skills is always nice. You will have Jack of all trades, just like every other bard. So you would get half your proficiency rounded down, added to a non-proficient skill check anyways. That's why I don't think that it's necessarily as big, but you do get expertise. So if you wanted a skill that wasn't on your list, or maybe it wasn't, maybe you didn't take like human or half elf, for example, where you sometimes get bonus skills as well. Maybe just wanted something else and you want to later be really good at it, but it just wasn't on the bard list. Now you can take that. So it's not bad, and more skills is always better than less. However, at level 3, you also get cutting words, and this ability is amazing. Basically, you can use your reaction and one of your bardic inspiration to reduce the attack roll, ability score check, or damage roll of any opponent within 60 feet that you can see. It doesn't even have to be attacking you specifically, just they can be attacking one of your party members. And usually I will only use this on the attack roll itself or on an ability check. The damage roll, not so much. A lot of times, as you level up, you start fighting things that start hitting for a lot of damage, like 20 or 30 damage per hit, or even more in some cases. So reducing a 30 damage hit by your inspiration die, let's say you roll 5, reducing that to 25 isn't a huge improvement. But turning what would have been a hit into a miss is huge. And now you've prevented all that damage instead of just 5 points of it. So I would usually save it for that. Ability score checks that might be really important, especially contested rolls. Then I think it's an excellent use for those as well. But maybe you have somebody, let's say you have an ally who's using the telekinesis spell on somebody to try to keep them restrained or immobilized. Or maybe somebody's caught in a web spell and you want to prevent them from escaping. Then using your reaction and your inspiration to reduce that can just keep that target locked down for additional time. And, allows the spell to just be that much more effective. At level 6, you're going to get additional magical secrets. You're going to be able to choose 2 spells of 3rd level or lower from any class list in the game and add them to you as if they were bard spells. So you can use charisma for them just like you would on any of your bard spells. Like I said, we'll talk about magical secrets more later, and we'll have a whole part talking about which ones I think are particularly good choices for this, as well as the other level ranges. At level 14, you get Peerless Skill. You can add your bardic inspiration to an ability check. I don't think this ability is great, but it's not bad. And it can be very, very good when combined with things like, say, casting Counterspell. If you took that as one of your magical secrets, Counterspell is an ability check. And the fact that you could add your Jack of all trades, which is going to apply to your attempt to Counterspell, plus your Peerless Skill means that if you're fighting some big bad who's casting some crucial spell that needs to be shut down, you're pretty much better for that than almost anyone else in the game. But that's really about it for your actual College of Lore specific abilities. like I said, you'll still have jack of all trades. You still have, expertise. You have everything else that a bard has. But it's a pretty good package for what it is, actually. Cutting words is very, very good. Additional magical secrets is very good again. Especially the fact that you can choose third or lower level spells, because third level spells tend to be very good. There's a lot of really strong choices. So we'll talk a little bit about feats. As always, if you're being a caster and you plan on being anywhere near melee, or even if you don't, Warcaster is a serious consideration. Or Resilient Con, either one, both very strong. I also like the Inspirational Leader feat. One of the players in my White Spire campaign, Brendan, had that on his bard, and the amount of temporary hit points that it gives to the party is pretty ridiculous, because everybody in the party is coming out of every rest with all those temporary hit points. And it made a huge deal, especially on some of the casters, where literally a quarter of their hit points would be temporary hit points, So it was massive, the impact that that feat had on the game. I also like Alert. Bards tend to have a lot of good crowd control spells. You have things like Hypnotic Pattern and whatnot. You have Hold Person. You have Tasha's Hideous Laughter. You have a lot of pretty nice spells like that. And usually if I'm wanting to try to shut down the enemy before they have a chance to move, you really want to be going quickly in initiative round. Now, not only will you have Alert to add to your initiative and your dexterity bonus to add to your initiative, you'll also have Jack of all trades, because that is a dexterity check. So you'll have half your proficiency rounded down, added to your initiative bonus. And if you're 14th or higher level and it's a really crucial combat where you absolutely feel like you need to land that Force Cage or whatever else you're trying to cast, you can add Fearless Skill to that roll as well. So I like the idea of just being really quick in combat and being able to land my crucial control spells before the enemy have a chance to move around, or before my barbarian charges the guy I was about to Force Cage, those kind of things. Because even though you tell the player, I'm going to Force Cage that guy, usually the barbarian, and it's always the barbarian, will charge him anyways. So, be faster than the barbarian, which isn't easy to do because you have advantage on initiative checks at that level. As far as races, obviously, anytime you talk about a charisma caster, you have to mention half-elf. I complain about half-elves because they're too good. It's not because they're not good. It's because they're actually too good. And they just kind of overshadow a lot of the other races. But they're amazing, so what do you do? And if you're going to go with, say, Drow Elf or Half-Elf or any of the other elves, I'd also throw Elven Accuracy onto the feat list as one thing you might want to consider, especially if you're planning on, attacking at all. It can be pretty good. I prefer it on a Valor Bard because you're going to be attacking a lot more often, but it still can be pretty solid here as well, especially if you multi-class. So we'll just throw that one in there. I mentioned Drow, Tiefling, and Lightfoot Halfling are both very strong choices as well. And if you feel like playing something that's kind of just off the grid a little bit, the Yuan-Ti are surprisingly good at making music, apparently. And I kind of like that idea anyways. It kind of reminds me of my childhood, watching Disney's Robin Hood. Sir Hiss would mesmerize people with his eyes and charm them. Good stuff. So, Snake Bards for the win. As far as your magical secrets, at level 6, you're going to get to choose 2 level 3 spells. Now, a lot of this is just going to come down to what you want and what kind of role you sort of see yourself filling in the party. Bards are really lacking in damage overall on their spell list. Bards have a really good spell list. It's not as good as the wizard one. It's probably not as good as the sorcerer, I wouldn't say, but it is pretty decent. But it's really your magical secrets allowing you to take some of the best spells from other schools and add them to your own spell list that really makes the bard such a great spellcaster. If you decide you want more damage, you could just take Fireball. You could take something like Spirit Guardians. Both of those are really good choices. You could take Conjure Animals from the Druid spell list and be a bit of a summoner there. You can take something like Healing Spirit from Druids as well if you want to play more of a healer. Aura of Vitality is another super strong choice taken from the Paladin spell list. If you just want, I can't stress this enough, Counterspell is one of the best choices you can ever make at this level, in my opinion. I don't even care if I have like a couple, like maybe we have a wizard and a sorcerer and they both have Counterspell. I might still take it just because your bard is going to be so good at Counterspell thanks to Jack of all trades and Peerless skill. So definitely worthy of consideration for one of your two choices. Other strong choices, Revivify, if you don't have anybody who can cast resurrection type spells. Revivify is one of my favorite raise dead type effects anyways, because it only requires an action. And, I mean, a lot of times if somebody dies in combat, unless it's a complete party wipe, in which case you're not going to be able to live to cast anything anyways. But if, let's say the fighter just unfortunately gets crit 3 times in the same round of combat or something, and just goes down like a clown. He's not going to be dead for more than a minute. If you just cast Revivify, he's going to be, fine. You can win the fight, save the fighter after, keep on going. I also really like, Crusader's Mantle, I mentioned, or Vitality. Crusader's Mantle in certain party compositions. If you have somebody else who's good, maybe you have a druid and he's summoning animals, or maybe you have a necromancer and he's conjuring a bunch of undead up, or anything along those lines. Crusader's Mantle is going to add an extra D4 radiant damage to anybody within your range, any of your allies within range, because you get to pick. And if you have let's say you have a fighter at level 6 here, and you've got a barbarian, and they're each attacking twice. Adding an extra D4 to each of those successful hits, is kind of nice. But if you have a necromancer with 6 skeletons up as well, suddenly that spell's getting a lot more mileage. It's also really nice if you have somebody else in the party who's planning on casting, say, animate objects. And you animate a bunch of coins, and now each of those coins can be doing an extra D4 damage per hit. I think there's a lot of potential there, but it is more of a specific comp. If you only have 1 or 2 frontliners, I don't know that I'd want to use one of my magical secrets on it. But if I have a party who's going to be conjuring and summoning a lot of minions, this spell really gets a lot of value. At level 10, you're going to get 2 more for 5th level spells and lower. I really like Wall of Force. This is one thing the bards don't really have, is the ability to cut off the battlefield or restrict people from entering certain parts of the battlefield. They've got some nice CC, like I said, with things like Hypnotic Pattern and whatnot, but you don't have solid physical barrier type spells. You don't have Wall of Force, Wall of Stone, Wall of Brambles, whatever the druid one's called. You don't have any of that kind of stuff. And so picking up Wall of Force as a 5th level spell, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a great spell, and it really helps to kind of flush out that part of your spell list if that's the rule you're trying to fit. Transmute Rock is another strong one, and Transmute Rock actually can have a lot of value for just restraining people, and you can use your cutting words on it because it's an ability check for them to try to escape. So once you've trapped them in the rock or in the mud, you can then use cutting words to try to prevent them from getting out. So I think there's some real value there. Obviously, from the Paladin spell list, Find Greater Steed is just a phenomenal choice. You do have Featherfall on the Bard list, so if you're going to take some sort of flying steed, definitely pick up Featherfall, because nothing's worse than having your Pegasus get killed when you're 300 feet in the air, and then you realize you can't do anything except for fall and hit the ground. I also really like Circle of Power from the Paladin spell list. It's just a really nice party buff. And Telekinesis, I already mentioned earlier, pretty good because a lot of times you can use it to control certain enemies. And like I said, you can use things like cutting words to try to prevent them from being able to escape. So those are my go-tos for 5th level spells. Now you can take a Wall of Stone instead of Wall of Force. I personally prefer Wall of Force, but they're similar enough that you can get away with either one, I think. At level 14, you're going to get a couple more choices for 7th level spells or lower. I really like Simulacrum, Magic Jar. Both of those are great spells. Although They are ones that I might be tempted to duplicate with a wish spell if I'm going to get to 18th level. So, bear that in mind. If you're planning on just using wish to create a bunch of simulacrums, you might not want to use that as one of your 7th level choices. However, you can grab things like heal if you want to be more of a healer type. Then heal makes a pretty good choice. Yeah, it's only a 6th level spell, but that's okay. Wall of Thorns, that's what it's called, not Wall of Brambles. Wall of Thorns, again, kind of filling that same role as Wall of Force, but maybe you just had some good 5th level spells that you wanted instead. Then this one could be pretty decent as well there. And Bones of the Earth from the Druid list is actually pretty good as well. This has a lot of nice effects to it, including the ability to maybe pin somebody against the roof and trap them there. At 18th level, though, you get 2 spells of 9th level from any spell list to add to your spells as if they were bard spells. This is kind of nice because bards only have like 4 spells or something on their spell list for 9th level. They just don't have a lot of choices. And yes, good choices, but I think that there's better spells out there. Especially Power Word Heal, which is not bad, but you could take Mass Heal, which is way better in my opinion, and you can take that as a magical secret if you want to be more of the healer role. I also, of course, I can't stress this enough, would always, on a bard, take Wish. It's just the most versatile spell in the game for one of the most versatile classes. It's just a perfect match. And I talked about this in my Valor Bard video a bit, but it amazes me how often I see people say that, they don't like Wish because they don't end up using it and it just goes to waste. But there's so many out-of-combat things you can do with Wish, whether it's casting things like Demiplane or Simulacrum, whether, like just almost anything. You can use it for crowd control effects, things like Maze, or whatnot. Actually, Maze is not a bad choice, now that I think of it, of an 8th level spell, if you wanted to take that as one of your magical secrets. But you could just take Wish and use that to cast Maze instead, if you really want. Well, you could take both. So those are my go-to choices for the 9th level spells, really. Like I said, Wish, can't go wrong. I think Mass Heal is probably the next strongest choice after Wish. Even if you're not trying to be a healer, Mass Heal is just amazing. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice again. But either way, choice is up to you. Second. See that monster? Pay me money, monster. I will promote you. As far as multi-class, Bard is one of those classes that I think really benefits from being just mostly Bard, or even all Bard. So if I was going to multi-class or something else, I'm probably only looking to take 1 or 2 levels of the other class. Now, this is especially true if I think the campaign's going to go all the way to 20. I don't really want to lose out on my 18th level magical secrets. But there's some strong multi-classes that you can get with just a couple of levels of something else combined with Bard. So we'll talk about those specifically. The first one is pretty decent in my opinion, and that is just 1 level of Life Cleric. Now you could just start with 1 level of Life Cleric if you want, but you don't have to, because Life Cleric, one of the main advantages, is that you get heavy armor as a bonus proficiency. So you go from a class that can't even wear medium armor to suddenly being able to wear heavy armor. And even if you're not planning on being on the front lines, it just makes you a lot harder to hit. And that means fewer concentration saving throws that you have to worry about. It just makes you a lot tankier. It does mean you're going to have at least 13 wisdom, and if you want to wear heavy armor, you're going to need some strength as well. So take that for what it's worth. You might need, some other stats distributed around as well. But I still think it's pretty good. The other thing that 1 level of Life Cleric is going to give you, though, is, of course, extra healing. Anytime you cast a heal on a target, it's going to get 2 extra hit points plus 1 hit point per level of spell. So if you cast, say, heal on an ally, not only is he going to get 70 hit points from the heal spell, he's going to get an extra 2 for your Life Cleric, and then an extra 6 on top of that because it's a 6th level spell. Now, that in and of itself isn't great, but combined with some of your 3rd level magical secrets you could have taken, let's say Aura of Vitality or Healing Spirits, it suddenly becomes phenomenal. I mean, healing spirits is pretty good already. Aura vitality, I mean, it's insane. You're handing out 2d6 worth of healing every round as a bonus action. But now each one of those heals is going to be doing an extra 2 hit points plus 3 hit points because it's a little spell. So 5 extra hit points on top of the 2d6. It's literally like an 80% increase to how much you can heal with that spell. And that spell is already phenomenal for healing. So if you're looking to play kind of a healer support bard type role, that is definitely one worth considering. It's very, very strong. The other ones are one I've mentioned a few times before, and that's just 2 levels of warlock. As we mentioned earlier in the video, bards tend to not have a lot of good damage spells. You got a few in there, like animated objects and whatnot, can be pretty powerful. But overall, you don't have a lot of blast type spells. You don't have a lot of single target type of damage. So taking 2 levels of warlock is going to give you the ability to take something like Eldritch Blast. You can pick up the Agonizing Blast Invocation. And now suddenly you've got the firepower of a warlock combined with all your other levels of bard. You could even take something like, say, Devil Sight as your other invocation. And if you went with a half elf or draw elf or something along those lines, you could now just fire away with advantage, take the elven accuracy feat, and have triple advantage instead of 2 dice. You're now rolling 3. It can actually get really sick. So that one's a really powerful combination. It's only 2 levels of warlock, and definitely worth mentioning. Plus, who doesn't like the idea of the old devilish bargain to get more barded powers? Or maybe just, Devil Went Down to Georgia scenario where you challenge your patron to a fiddle duel or something along those lines. There's some cool ideas you can do with it. I like it a lot. And it's also going to give you a couple short rest spell slots that can be pretty handy as well. So, nothing wrong with that as well. Hex is also an excellent spell. Now you're not going to have to worry about, using some sort of like fee or something else to get it. You're not going to use a magic secret to get it. It's just there and it's strong. You can also, I think, go with like say Hexblade and use that if you want, like the medium armor. It's kind of similar to what you're going to do with Life Clerics. If you're just going to take a couple levels of Hexblade, get the medium armor. The Hexblade's Curse is also pretty nice because it's not actually a spell, which means you could curse somebody while also casting a spell on your turn. The last multi-class, and there's a couple of different variants on this one as well, but the main one is just 2 levels of Paladin. And the reason is because, just like the Life Cleric, you're going to get access to heavy armor, except if in this case you have to start Paladin if you want to have the heavy armor. You're going to have access to a shield, you'll have all the martial weapons, which is pretty nice, and you'll have smites. I don't really like the feeling of taking one of my magical secrets as a cantrip for like a Booming Blade or a Green Flame Blade, but in this build I probably would, because you've only got the 1 attack around. So if you want to be up in melee, you can be smiting stuff while also Green Flame or Booming Blading them, and just doing a bunch of melee damage. I still like the idea of being a caster primarily, but now things like, say, Spirit Guardian start to make a lot of sense on this kind of character, because you can be up in the front line, you can be taking some hits because you'll have a lot of armor class, and it gives you a lot more flexibility for roles you can fit. And then you're kind of, like I said, you're kind of like a rogue style character in the sense, not in what you do, but just in the sense that you've only got the 1 attack, but you hit really hard with it. And so it can be not bad. I might want to take a Magic Initiate instead if you want the magical secrets more than the feats. You can go either way on that one. I do think a variation would be to take Paladin all the way to 6, and then you're only left with 14 levels of Bard to work with. Still not too bad. It's going to give you an extra attack around, in which case you don't really need Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade so badly. And it'll give you your plus Charisma aura from your Aura of Protection. Very strong as well. It does mean that you're going to lose out on some of those high-level magical secrets, and your Bard progression is going to be really, really delayed, because 6 levels of Paladin, no matter how you look at it, that's going to push down your high-level spellcasting by quite a bit. However, you will still have 3 levels, for what it's worth, from your half levels paladin, right? So you will have a 9th level spell slot. You'll be considered a 17th level caster, but you can be limited to only 7th level spells. So those are my thoughts on the multi-classes and which ones I kind of like. I'm sure there's a lot of other variations as well. You could probably go with like a Path to the Blade Warlock type of build where you took 5 levels or 6 levels of Warlock instead of Paladin and do something kind of similar and, you know, take Eldritch Smite and whatnot. Again, not bad. And you can use Charisma for everything if you go with Hexblade, and you don't have to worry about Strength or Dex as an attacking stat. But I tend to feel like if I'm going College of Lore, I'm probably going to emphasize the spell casting a lot more than the melee. And so I like the Life Cleric one here if I'm going to be a healer. I like the Warlock if I'm going to be the Blaster type. Both are solid. But honestly, just going straight College of Lore is very, very strong as well. There's nothing wrong with that. College of Lore is one of the most versatile characters there are, and one of the best spellcasters in the game, really. There's really not much more to say about it. It's just very strong, very versatile, a pretty decent spell list combined with the ability to customize that list with spells from other classes. It's awesome. And then you got Jack of all trades and expertise and things like that on top of it, cutting words. It's an amazing class. So those are my thoughts on the College of Lore Bard. Like I said, it's awesome. Try it, love it, play it. And I want to hear from you, though. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section. I want to read about bards you might have played or different multi-classes you've done with bard. And, of course, feel free to hit the like button if you liked it, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with YouTube by now. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon.